News Radio 840 WHAS. Good Sunday morning. Bob Sokoler, Louisville Real Estate Show here with you till the top of the hour. A lot of questions. We'll get right to that in a second. First, let me introduce the folks who are hanging with us for the next half hour. We've got Chuck Crosby, the Crosby Law Offices, backed by popular demand, 499-6360. Also here, also backed by popular demand, Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service. They are now the number one ranked home team inspection service for the 7th year in a row. Can he make it to 8? We'll find out.
I don't know. We'll see.
That's the voice of Brad Lawler, and you can reach him at 844-411-TEAM. My son Greg has the morning off, and you can reach me because we are looking for homes to list and sell. And by the way, we now have 5 different ways to ensure your dream home is your next home. Find out more about that a little later on in the show. You can reach me at 376-5483 at any time, including right after the show. So some of the news making headlines very quickly. The latest exiting home sales report from the National Association of Realtors indicates that sales, and get a load of this, folks, Brad and Chuck, home sales priced at more than $1 million rose by 31% last year. Also found that home sales between the price ranges of $750,000 and $1 million grew by 25%. And by the way, the price of homes in the Louisville area, general homes between, we're saying $250,000 to $350,000, grew by 10% in terms of the actual sales price last year. Mortgage rates posted a big jump this past week. Freddie Mac reporting the 30-year fixed rate mortgage averaged 3.45%. It's up from last week's 3.22%. We're keeping a track on mortgage rates as we go into 2022. Finally, Brad, Chuck, you're definitely going to identify with this. If you have any employees who you think hate their job, okay, this may be a big problem around the country. You're hearing about it, the Great Resignation. They've done stories on it on media, blah, blah, blah. Well, a large number of employees, of course, as we've been told, leaving their job. More companies are offering bonuses or higher pay to keep employees from leaving. Let's not let my employees or your employees hear that information. But one Central Florida company believes they found the perfect hook to keep their workforce in place. A home giveaway, right? The company is going to offer 2 newly built homes mortgage-free. The company's called, in case you want to go work for them, Mechanical One. It's a newly opened air conditioning and plumbing company of about 100 employees in my old stomping grounds of Altamont Springs, Florida. Yeah. They say they'll hold a drawing, and 2 employees will win free homes. Would it keep you there? Maybe, right? Possible. Wow. You never know. All right. So we are in our COVID mode for our shows, which means we do Zoom. And when we do a Zoom show, you're also able to see a rebroadcast of that show. If you want to take a look at it, very simple, go to LouisvilleAnswers.com. It's a rebroadcast of our show on YouTube. But we also ask you to send in your questions via email. So you put the subject in the subject line as question, and then the question in the body of the email. Send it to me, Bob, at WeSellLouisville.com. And that's where we got this first question from Connie, who is writing in for Chuck. Connie says, and you may have heard about this, Chuck, having happened, because I got a feeling a lot of people did not know about this. Connie says she lives in an area patio home subdivision. They own the property underneath the patio home itself, so it's like a single-family home. And up until recently, Connie and the rest of the people who live there were able to rent out their homes if Connie and others decided to move to another section of the city or the country. She just found out that residents in her condo patio home subdivision, I guess, apparently they changed the bylaws and now say that we cannot rent. Only people on the deed can live in the home. She's wondering, Chuck, how can that happen? And also, does she have any recourse? And then there's a follow-up question. So let's start with those 2 questions. How does that happen?
How does it happen?
Yeah.
They have a meeting and sufficient numbers of residents vote to change the deed of restrictions. So, yeah, that's how it happens. What recourse would she have?
Yeah.
Well, you'd have to go back and see if they followed all the steps. Frequently, homeowners associations don't follow all the steps. They think, oh, hey, we can do this, because, four board members or whatever voted for it.
Uh-huh.
So you have to go back through the documents and look at it and see if they actually did jump through all the proper hoops to amend the deed of restrictions.
So do they hire an attorney, or
Yes,
they do?
absolutely.
Cost involved typically?
I don't know that there is a typically.
Okay.
That's unusual.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there's and they have to get an attorney. There's all manner of ancillary issues as well. If you are renting to, say, folks that might be disabled, all of a sudden you can't rent to those. Well, now you've got not just a local, but a state and a federal jumping board. So there's all kinds of different angles.
So the follow-up question is, and this is a good one from her, what happens if she secretly rented to someone? What could happen to her?
Secretly, what could happen?
Yeah.
Well, it depends on what they modified the deed restrictions to include by penalties. Typically, those penalties are fines, and those fines sit there, and if not paid, can sometimes form the basis of a foreclosure.
And if nothing else, they attach to the house, and if you go to sell it,
right,
then it has to be paid at closing.
Involved, right? But typically they don't just let them sit and ride. If it's something like that, it's obviously I'm not going to respect anything you say.
Yeah.
My experience is the boards get a little upset about that kind of thing, so they may push it a little harder.
Got it. All right. That makes sense. Incidentally, if you want, our new edition of the newsletter is out this week. It shows you, among other things, 3 ways to make the most of room colors at your home. That's including the colors for this year of 2022. They've got a whole breakdown and a link to what the best colors are. If you want to sign up for the newsletter, go to welovelouisville.com and subscribe. welovelouisville.com. That'll allow you to subscribe to our newsletter, and you'll get a copy of it. And twice a month, I think. All right, over to Brad, actually. Brad, Paul is buying a home that's in a floodplain. And he's wondering, as a buyer, what should he or the inspector be looking for telltale signs of problems in a floodplain home?
Okay, well, I'm going to talk kind of generally about any home, because quite honestly, some of the homes that we see out there are almost graded to make it look like a floodplain. If you don't grade the lot correctly, you can have a lake, a lagoon in your backyard or front yard. So the home inspectors are going to be looking for any signs of moisture intrusion into the house. So we're going to be looking, if it's on a crawl space, when we get in the crawl space, we're going to look for evidence of water that's either coming up from underneath the foundation or through the foundation. You can tell the difference because you're looking for staining on the foundation walls. Basement would be very much the same thing. We're looking for any evidence of water that's come in. You'll see the dirt staining or the gray discoloration of the concrete where water's coming in. Looking for any signs of water deterioration, particularly on sill plates, the piece of wood that sits on top of the concrete foundation. So those are all the things we're looking at. But on the exterior of the house, we're looking to see how the water is managed. So downspouts, for instance, we want to make sure that the downspouts are extending, at least 6 feet away from the house, so that it's putting water in a place where it's not going to come back in through the foundation. And that's going to hold true for really any house, whether it's on a floodplain or not. People with highly sloped backyards that come down into their house, oftentimes if the dirt is not graded correctly around the house, it can sit very tight to the house. I mean, this is what French drains and other type of drainage is used for, to move water away from that foundation. But yeah, it can happen to any home anywhere, but certainly it's more likely in a house that's sitting in a floodplain.
Wow, that's a really detailed response. Thank you, Brett. That was well done. I mentioned at the beginning of the show, we now have 5 ways to help you sell your home, and just about guaranteed to help you find your next home without having to move first. You want more information, go to, get a load of this, folks, LouisvilleBob.com. That's LouisvilleBob.com. It'll redirect you to the information on that. Pretty good, huh? Yeah.
Do you have a catalog?
I have a lot. Yeah, I'm cutting back a lot of them, but I bought a whole lot of these URLs a long time ago. Just been sitting on them for a specific reason. So there you go. All right, Chuck, this is an interesting one. And Chuck, do you know about the changes in our GLAR contracts that just happened at the beginning of the year in the inspection clause? Have you heard about this?
Actually,
all right, well, you may need some help from me.
Oh boy,
on this one. Yeah, because this is so any realtors listening to me, if you are not aware about the new contract language in the new contracts, the buyer contracts that appeared magically at the beginning of this month. Listen carefully to this question. Morgan sent us an email with an unusual problem. She put an offer in on a house. She got it accepted, handed in the inspection repair request. The sellers never responded, and her agent says technically, based on the new contract, if the other side doesn't respond, they basically accepted the repair request.
I did hear that.
You heard that, right?
Yeah.
So that she says the seller's agent doesn't see it that way. The seller's agent apparently is unaware of the change that went into effect on the new contract, and apparently Morgan's agent used the new contract. And so now there's a battle brewing. Morgan says she feels like she's in the middle of it. What happens now? And you got to wonder.
Well, I don't wonder.
Okay, good.
Yeah, the contract says what the contract says. However, if there was no meeting of the minds on a significant issue, well, then that's not, there's argument there is to say that contract doesn't exist. If I think the contract says A and you think it says B, and they are, polar opposites and substantial, okay, then, there's still wiggle room there. But yeah, I heard about that. That just doesn't sit well with me.
A lot of us are not happy about that they would make a change, regardless of what the change is, but just to release it. There are brokers in this city that don't even know that happened. Yeah. So be aware.
They're going to look at the contract. It's going to have the same basic form, and they're not going to know. That's why I mentioned the whole meeting of the minds thing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've announced it. We've talked to people, and hopefully the word gets out. We're going to take a break. By the way, if you'd like to see what the buyers and really a lot of buyers and sellers are saying about us, go to LouisvilleZillow.com or to LouisvilleGoogle.com. When we come back, 10 ways to slash your climbing electric bills in your home. This will be an eye-opener to a lot of people. Here with us, we got Chuck Crosby, the Crosby Law Offices at 499-6360. Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service, 844-411-TEAM. You can reach me, Bob Sokoler, anytime, now or in the future. We sell all different prices of homes from $10,000 up to $10 million. You can reach me at 376-5483. We're back in a moment on News Radio 840 WHAS. News Radio 840 WHAS, Bob Sokoler, the Louisville Real Estate Show. Thank you, Barbara Corcoran. We love and adore you. And you may have seen the new commercials running on the air, and we appreciate Barbara for her endorsement. With us here, Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service, 844-411-TEAM. Also, Chuck Crosby, the Crosby Law Offices at 499-6360. And you can reach me, Bob Sokoler, anytime, 376-5483. No doubt about it. Our electric bills are going up. Have you seen it, guys? I mean, just no. Okay.
No, I have not.
You haven't? Well, good for you.
No, good for Sherry.
Good for Sherry. Yeah.
Yeah. Her view is that if it's not going to get below 30, the windows are open at night.
Get out of here. We don't believe that. That's you're okay if you say so. Well, they're going up. Just take our word for it, Chuck. Brad and I are both nodding our head. By the way, if you want to see us nodding our head, go to our redirect for our radio show, LouisvilleAnswers.com. That'll take you to YouTube replay. So some ways to save money. Run appliances at night because the rates are lower. Be smart about your lighting. And Brad, you've talked about this on a regular basis. Switch over to LED light bulbs, and they use at least 75% less energy, lasting 25 times longer than incandescent bulbs. Change your filters, and feel free to jump in, by the way, Brad, any long way. Change your air filters. I went ahead and changed mine last week after I read this and prepped for this show. Could I change it? And I went, I needed to do this more regularly. And wash in cold water. Now, I know some may say, no, I want hot water, but cold water for clothes, I guess it does work with some of the different detergents out there, right? Yeah. Maintain an efficient fridge. So you want to make sure your coils are clean, which for most people, that's at the bottom. But if you have a Sub-Zero refrigerator, that means the coils are at the top, right? Okay.
Right.
Watch your wash cycle. Wash dishes the smarter way. Use short, eco-friendly cycles. One suggestion is instead of run it with the heat cycle where they heat up, open the door, let them dry naturally. I know that may not be. See, I can't do that because JJ and Chloe, my German Shepherds, if the door is open, they're going to lick right?
Yeah.
That's not going to happen in my house. So, yeah. Insulate properly, right? And I know we get a lot of reports when you see come back in that the insulation needs to be increased.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. Install a solar water heater. Well, that may be more difficult this time of year to do, but certainly make sure your temperature, what should it be on that brand?
You want to stay below 130 degrees. I mean, 120 to 125 is perfect. That way you don't risk scalds, and you're still plenty warm for washing dishes and being as efficient as possible.
Take a clue from Chuck and Sherry Crosby. Not only give your AC a break, give your heating a break as well. Just open a window unless it's below 32 degrees.
Yep.
Oh, boy.
Heat goes off and open a window.
And then stick to a schedule. One effective way to capitalize on lower off-peak electric rates is to put suitable electronics or appliances on a simple outlet timer, which will make them go on at night versus going on during the day. So there you go, some of the ideas. All right, let's go back to our questions here. This one's going to go over to Brad. Charlotte's writing in, says that she's buying her first home, tight on cash, wonders about the home inspection. She knows that normally a buyer pays for the home inspection, but could she ask the sellers to pay for a home inspection as well as the repairs? I'm not sure that the seller's going to do that in this market, right?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I will tell you that we have had a few cases where somebody else pays the price for the home inspection. We've had agents jump in. We've had parents call in with credit cards. I mean, truthfully, I don't know that we always know where where a cash payment or a check is necessarily coming from. But we wouldn't call a seller and say, "Hey, pay us." But it's we've had a few instances where others outside the buyer or buyer's couple.
Charlotte, and just let me tell you, Charlotte, in this market, as hot of our inventory was below 1,300 homes this past week. Yeah. Normally, we're at 25 to 3,000 homes. So it's a really hot buyer's market or seller's market. So buyers are really going to have a difficult time asking a seller to pay for it.
But don't waive that inspection.
No, don't waive it. Don't too much of a risk. Chuck, Alan sending us an email. He says his neighbors just sold their house. A new neighbor moved in and immediately started parking the new owner's car on the lawn, their lawn, but on the lawn. I mean, the home that they own, this new buyer. Alan says they don't
put the car on their own lawn.
On their own home, right.
Gotcha.
Alan says they don't have a homeowner association in the neighborhood, but several of the neighbors that he's talked to are also upset about the car on the lawn, and he's heard talk about bringing over a pie from you. But he says he's afraid to approach this neighbor. What should he do?
Well, there's not much you can do at that point if there's no HOA. Now, there may be some city restriction. If they're within the city limits, you might call code enforcement and see if that's allowed. Probably isn't. But that's about the best you can do. Call code enforcement or get all your neighbors together in this subdivision and reinstitute a homeowners association.
Yeah, condo association did it on the first question we had today. Yeah. Why not? I guess you just need to follow certain regulations. You got
to get enough of the neighbors to do that. Now, if it's in a subdivision, there probably is some structure already in place that could be restarted. But if it's not, and they just happen to live next to each other out in an unincorporated area, well, that's not much to do about it.
Got it.
But if it's in the city, call code enforcement. Code enforcement is usually pretty good about that.
If your home has not sold and you're thinking possibly maybe of selling, or you haven't sold yet, but you're going to, we can help you. Go to LouisvilleHouseDoctors.com, fill out our form, and yes, we do make house calls, and they're free of charge. All right, back over to inspections. Tony, this is your question that you sent to us via email. He says he had a home inspection on the house he's buying, and the inspector says there's aluminum wiring, and apparently the inspector says he doesn't like it. That inspector doesn't like it. He says, how bad is aluminum wiring, and can he request that the buyer have the seller have the aluminum wiring replaced?
Well, I've not heard of an instance where, unless they're doing it down to the studs renovation, that aluminum wiring is replaced. What I will tell you is that the home inspector may not like it, but it's not really the home inspector's determination to make. We are just We just identify what is functioning and what is not functioning, what's safe and what's not safe. So in that case, we would say that an electrician should come in and do an evaluation on the current panel. The panel may be old. There may be signs of heat stress. There may be signs of outlets that have been charred where the aluminum wiring has gotten hot. But the electricians may even differ on what needs to be done. Some will come in and just put in the pigtails in order to safely exchange all of the outlets to copper based, but they have a special pigtail with it's almost a lubricant inside of it that allows the copper and the aluminum to come together safely, and it doesn't allow the expansion and contraction, which is what causes all the heat. So the electrician needs to come in, do the evaluation of the entire electrical system. There's tens of thousands of homes in the Louisville area with single strand aluminum wiring. Now, don't confuse that with the stranded aluminum wiring, which is what is the main conductor coming into all of our homes. It's the conductor that we use for dryers and stoves. That is very different than a single strand aluminum wiring. And I've seen home inspectors call out stranded aluminum too. They just don't understand what it is. But the electrician can come in and tell you, what steps would need to be taken to ensure that the home remains safe.
Let me point something out to all of our listeners, and it's a compliment for you, Brad. If you listen to Brad's description just now, you heard someone who knows what he's talking about, but doesn't try to inflate a problem that doesn't need to be inflated. He's very realistic and down to earth. Well, and when you're speaking of grounding of homes, it is down to earth. Yeah. So to me, and you may not want to use home team, you may want to use somebody else, but you want to use somebody who's not going to blow a problem out of proportion.
No.
You want safety structural, you want to know the basic facts without opinions being inserted in there.
Right. Thank you. Yeah.
Congrats. Yeah, no, very good. All right, back over to Chuck. Tabby says she put an offer in on a house and a $2,000 good faith deposit without using a realtor. Now she says she's not able to get a mortgage and she's trying to get her earnest money back, but the seller is saying, nope, I've got your money, and if you can't get a mortgage, that's your problem. So legally, is she up a
it depends entirely upon what the contract says.
If she used the contract, I'm getting the impression she gave the guy a check for $2,000 and said, okay, I'm going to buy the house. And now she's,
if it's a hug and a handshake and you handed them the money, there's equity arguments to be made, but they're just arguments. It's not anything you can hang a hat on and say, oh, definitely, whatever. And if you don't use a realtor, people will typically run to the computer and pull something off the interwebs.
Yep.
And they're nightmares. If you give a guy good faith, and it doesn't say and your contract's not contingent on anything, and it doesn't say, if you can't close or get the money back or whatever, there's nothing that you can just assume is the normal course.
Yeah.
It has to say it.
It's why you need a realtor, or an attorney, somebody to guide you through this. And by the way,
the statute of frauds is out there. You can't have an oral contract for the sale of real estate for this particular reason. It's got to be mentioned, all the terms. And if you don't mention them, they don't exist.
May I suggest also, Mr. Crosby, that for the duration of COVID, that you closet the term hug and a handshake. Yes, because not so good. No hugging.
Yeah, I understand.
I went over, I saw somebody this week and they wanted to give me a hug. I go, no. Let's just a little fist bump would be perfect.
Well, you realize that as an attorney, hugs and handshakes have always been a hypothetical thing.
Yes, sir. Oh, no kidding. Yeah, but we'll laugh. Kathy put down $1,000 in good faith money on a house she was buying on the south end of town. The inspection turned up several problems, and Kathy wants to pull out on the deal. The seller says she'll let Kathy pull out, but she's not giving the $1,000 good faith money back. So this has two little caveats here on this. What recourse does she have? Well, if it's a contract, then Chuck,
it's in the contract. Yeah.
Yeah. So is it true if the seller doesn't want to give the $1,000 back to Kathy, it'll sit in the broker's account for maybe 6 months and then it ends up going back to the buyer?
Well, that depends. If they're just doing a contract off the internet, there may not be a broker involved.
Yeah.
That money may have gone straight into the seller's bank account. Yeah. At which point, presuming they have a cause of action, will be a small claims action, and then they'll just have to make their arguments.
They can do that without hiring an attorney or hire an attorney to bring them a small claims court. Is that right?
Always better to hire an attorney and that kind of thing, because the judge is going to sit there and may not know exactly how real estate works. Most lawyers, they took 2 classes in real estate, those many years ago. They were in law school, and that's where it ended. And
we're almost out of time, Brad. So just briefly, so what is it about a home that would make a home inspector say, no, you don't want to buy this house? What's the worst thing that could happen to in an inspection?
Well, I don't think that a home inspector should ever tell a buyer that they shouldn't buy this house. I don't think that's not in our language. I mean, again, we are telling them about safety issues and material defects. So the biggest problem that we see is water in homes. Moisture intrusion is the biggest problem that we see. That may be from a roof, it may be from the structure. Those are the most expensive repairs that will take place. But yeah, a home inspector should never tell someone that they shouldn't buy that house.
See that? And apparently that's happened again. So we're seeing a trend here. So all right, folks, you just know, not many homes out there. You don't want to go with something that's going to be a money pit, but certainly be advised that not all inspectors are the sky is falling, right?
No.
We thank Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service, who is a great guy, and their people are fabulous. Chuck and I both attest to their quality of service. You can reach them at 844-411-TEAM. Chuck Crosby, who also is a spectacular guy, not only because he's a great attorney, does great closings, but he's well-versed on so many different things at 499-6360, including wills, and he's entertaining at a closing. And really,
there you go.
You are. It's just enlightening. And I love his question. You know what his question is at the end of every closing? Are there any questions that you have that I haven't answered? Yeah. It's rare that you hear that, opening it up. And I always ask, you remember what I ask? I always ask.
What's the meaning of life?
There you go. That's right. Well, he's opened it up.
As we all know, is 42.
All right. And you can reach me anytime, day or night. Bob Sokoler, 376-5483. We're out of time. See you next Sunday on News Radio 840 WHAS.